Okay, so this video is about a power failure light, relatively inexpensive one. They're available both on eBay and Amazon. So I bought about 4 of these a year ago. There have been some issues with this particular model, and I'll talk about that and also how you can modify it. So here's the light, and it has it just plugs in on the back. This US plug. I think it's also available in European plugs as well. Not much to it, as you can see. There's a 3-position switch over here on the side. It's in the middle position now. That's in the off position. If I turn it up, the light goes on. Back middle. Turn it to the down position, the light goes on. So what's with that? Well, here we go. I'll show you. So here we have a power strip, and I've got a night light there just to show you that the power strip is on. I can turn the power strip on and off with this switch here. So I'm going to turn this light on in the lower position. Power strip is on, so when I plug it in, the light goes out. So if there's a power failure, and I'll simulate that by turning off the power switch, the light goes on. And that's it. That's all there is to it. And it's also, and then you can pull it out, and if you're walking around in the dark, you can find your way to the bathroom or wherever you're trying to get. You can also use it in a manual mode by just simply going to the up position, and the center position turns it off again. So let's take a little closer look at this and see what it's all about. As I said, these are available on eBay for about $5–6 from several vendors. Also available on Amazon for a few dollars more. I bought mine from eBay, but I should have taken a look at some of the comments on Amazon, because a lot of people were very disappointed with it. So what's the problem? Well, first of all, let's take a closer look. We've got 13 LEDs. There's 10 in a circle and 3 in the middle. So that's a lot of LEDs. They're all white, of course. And it's powered by a generally what's described as a lithium battery, although I've seen the battery being a lead-acid battery. It's hard to tell, and we'll get into that a little later. So it works fine. I got these. They were partially charged up, and they lit up fine. I plugged them in. I bought 4 of these, as I said. I put one aside, and I plugged the other 3 into various locations throughout the house. And I just left them there, and I did, in the power failure mode with that switch down. And after about 3–4 months, I figured, well, let me go around and test them. Guess what? All 3 that I plugged in all failed. They wouldn't turn on, no matter what I did, even in the manual mode, just by pushing it up like that. So that's not good. So I went back to the 4th one, which had been charged up when I first got it, and was just sitting on the shelf. Turned it on, flipped the switch. Son of a gun, it turned on just fine. So what's going on here? So went back to the Amazon and read some of the customer complaints, and the vast majority of the low star complaints were because the device failed after anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So some kind of design flaw going on here. So let's take a look. On the back, we've got just 3 screws, 2 in the corners here and 1 up on top. So let's open her up and see what's going on inside. Very simple opening. These are just small Phillips screws. Just get the screwdriver out. Screws out. There are no tabs holding these together, so it's just the 3 screws. And so, not too complicated. And what we have are three major components. We have the LED assembly on this front face. Inside we have a small printed circuit board and a battery, and that's pretty much it. I'll show you close-ups in a second. As I said, the LEDs consist of 13 LEDs, 10 in a circle and 3 down the middle. And here's the battery. Now, the battery doesn't have much in the way of markings. It just has a date code on the side. Other than that, there's no other labels. And the wires are just soldered to some tabs on the very end. What I found on the 3 that failed was the connection to the positive terminal here had broken off, apparently due to some kind of corrosion. And there was some like white powdery stuff near the terminal, which seemed to contribute to that failure. So it was just a simple matter of cleaning up the terminal, resoldering on the red wire, and everything was good to go. I kind of suspected that it has to do with maybe the battery outgassing or due to constant charging. What I found in that fourth unit that I had put on off to the side, which did not fail, was even after 3 months, I turned it on, came on with full power, no problem to speak of. So the battery held its charge for quite a long time. Okay, here's some close-up shots of assemblies that I've taken. Here's the device open, and again you can see the 3 components, the LED board, the battery, and the power control board, charging board. Here's another view of that same assembly. Now, here's a close-up of the end of that battery, and you can see the 2 wires, the red and black wires attached to the plus and minus terminals of the battery. And you can still see a little bit of that white crud that I had discovered. But it was very a simple matter of doing a repair and resoldering that wire on. And when I did, it worked just fine. One of the things I didn't like about the light was that it had 13 LEDs, and when it was on, it was very bright. The claim was that the unit was capable of holding a charge for 4 hours. And I did a test and I got at least 3 hours out of it, so that was not an outrageous claim. So that was good. But suppose there was an extended power outage and I needed the lights on for 12 hours. Well, this isn't going to do me any good, as is. So I thought about how could I perhaps modify this and reduce the number of LEDs that are powered and extend the operating life of the unit. So again, let's go back, take a look at the LED board. So you can see that here's the LED board with the 13 LEDs, 10 along the periphery and 3 down the middle. And then now the board has nothing on it other than the LEDs. There's no limiting resistors or any active components. All the LEDs are in parallel with each other. And you can see the 2 wires coming down from control board to power the LEDs. So I'm thinking, well, suppose I cut this trace that's going down the middle here, and that would isolate the 3 center LEDs from the others. And this way, if I could switch that on and off, then I could go either in a high power or low power mode, and I could probably get 12 hours out of this thing in the low power mode. You do that very simply. The way I did it is cut the trace. I used a Dremel tool with a cutoff on the end, cutoff bit. You could use whatever suits you, whatever you got in your shop, a sharp knife, a wood carving tool, whatever. And so here's a close-up of the damage I did with that cutoff bit. It very nicely severed that trace. Now the back of the board is covered with solder mask, a green solder mask. So what I need to do is to clear off some of that solder mask so I can connect the solder directly to those traces. Again, the Dremel comes in handy. I used a stainless steel brush, and with a few light touches, as you can see, I was able to clear off that solder mask very nicely, exposing the copper. Next thing was to install a switch to put this thing into a high or low power mode. I had a bunch of mini toggle switches on hand. These had right angle terminals on them for PC board mount, but it didn't matter here. Also, it was a nice small switch. All I had to do is drill a small round hole on the side of the housing, and then solder to the either side of that trace. And finally, here's the final assembly with the wire to the switch. Here's what the final unit looks like now. Again, slide switch and LED on one side, and we've got the new switch here on the other. So if we turn this on manually, we're in the full high power mode, and I toggle the switch, and there you go. Got 3 LEDs. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in terms of plugging these back in the outlet, because I'm sure that same problem is going to reoccur with the corrosion on the battery terminal. Like I said, you can power these up and charge the batteries, and they'll sit on the shelf quite happily without losing their charge for several months. So maybe I'll do that in the meantime. Hope this was helpful to you all, and good luck with any repairs or mods you might want to make. If you come up with any ideas about how to make this work with continuing charge and avoid the corrosion on the battery terminal, please leave it in the comments. Thank you.